Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the Around the Slice YouTube channel. So with the Sweet 16 matchup starting tonight at the time of this recording, I am here to fill out and give you my predictions for a second chance bracket via on the ESPN Tournament Challenge app. It's really cool how they do the second chance bracket because my first bracket, my final four teams, I know I didn't share it here on this YouTube channel, but my final four teams for my actual bracket to start the whole tournament were, Kentucky, Auburn, UConn, and Alabama. Thank God Alabama survived. They barely won, but they survived at the end. Auburn lost in the first round and Kentucky lost in the first round, so 50%. So two of my final four teams are still standing. I had Kentucky beating UConn in the championship, by the way, but actually, as I just said, Kentucky lost to Oakland in the first round, although Oakland lost in the second round. But I am going to go through my second chance bracket. Like I said, it's really cool how ESPN Tournament Challenge does this second bracket type thing. This is my fourth year in a row of doing this on this app specifically electronically. And either I haven't noticed it or I haven't taken advantage of it, but this is the first time I'm really filling out a second chance bracket. So this will be interesting to reevaluate things. So I think I'm going to go through the seeds and matchups and then give you players to watch for each matchup in each team on each side. Some teams have more players than others, more variety. Some teams are more top-heavy than others, and I'll get to that when I get to that. So we're going to go from Sweet 16 to Elite 8 down to Final 4 and the championship. Literally what it says, a second chance bracket. Just filling out my updated thoughts as self-explanatory. So let's get into it. First, we have 1-seeded UConn versus 5-seeded San Diego State. I'm surprised this rematch is happening this early, only in the third round of the tournament in the Sweet 16. UConn's region was pretty loaded. I can't remember exactly which teams they had in their region to begin with on selection day, but I would have loved, I'm sure the whole country, including myself, a lot, would have loved to see a UConn-San Diego State rematch in the championship, but obviously that can't happen with they're in the same side of the bracket, let alone the same region. So I feel like the NCAA selection committee, whoever does it, kind of messed up here, but that's okay. UConn along with Purdue, but we'll get to them in a minute when we get to them, but UConn has been kind of bullying teams, they've been winning by 20 plus, 30 plus, I think, even in the second round. It's not even fair what UConn is doing to these teams. So I think people are overreacting to this matchup. But my players to watch here are, again, the big storyline here is the championship matchup, but unfortunately it's happening just this early in the Sweet 16. Players to watch for UConn, Stephon Castle, and then Donovan Clingan. Obviously, they have some more supporting cast members, a couple of other NBA draft prospects that aren't as recognizable, though, but you got Stephon Castle at point guard, and then you got Donovan Clingan at 7-foot-plus center. 7'1", I should say, rather, center. He's just so dominant. I would love to see him and Zach Edey, both of them, have a chance to be the first big man/center off the board come June in the NBA 2024 NBA draft. But I am going to go with UConn here. Unfortunately, UConn has been bullying teams, and I don't think San Diego State has the firepower. The players to watch for San Diego State, it's Jaden Ledee. If they don't get 20 plus, 25, 30 plus even from Jaden Ledee, they're not going to win. He's kind of their sole, I would say, really dominant player. I don't think they have any other players that are really even close for consideration. I have UConn. I think this will be closer, a half and some change, some time there. But after that, I think UConn will kind of run away with it in the final 10 minutes or so, give or take. So, yes, big storyline championship rematch that has happened from last year that is happening in the Sweet 16. And I love UConn's coach, Danny Hurley, phenomenal coach, probably top 3, arguably best coach in the nation. And he's still playing, obviously. So next we have 3 Illinois versus 2 Iowa State. Now, this is interesting. My players to watch for Iowa State, I said NA, not available in the little document I made here. You guys can't see it, but I'm kind of reading off of it here. Behind the scenes info here. You guys can't see it, but I said not available because I'm not too familiar with Iowa State. I know they're a really well-run team. I'm not too familiar with their coach either. I know they play really well together, but I haven't watched too much of them, just flipping through the games in the first couple rounds. So I don't know any players specifically, but players to watch for Illinois, Marcus Damask and Terrence Shannon Jr. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. has kind of been up and down in the tournament so far. I feel like he's inconsistent in the first round. With the second round, he really showed up. In clutch, he really showed up. This is interesting. Just because... I haven't really thought about this much. I mean, obviously making this document and players to watch, I have kind of a baseline of things, but I think I'm going to go with Illinois. Technically, it's an upset, but not huge, because 3/2, it's only 1 seed difference, 1 spot difference. I should say, rather. But I think I'm going to go with Illinois just because they have more recognizable players, and I think they have more players that I'm actually, like, invested in rooting for. Next, all the way down here, we have 1-seeded UNC, or for full name, 1-seeded North Carolina versus 4-seeded Alabama. Now, players to watch for North Carolina, they have a ton of experience. They have a ton of tournament experience between Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, Harrison Ingram, and Cormac Ryan. Bacot, it's like his 6th year in college basketball, I think. I mean, he keeps coming back, obviously, for NIL reasons. That's a whole video and topic in itself. It's not as bad as college football, but college basketball is getting there. Cormac Ryan, 25 years old. He spent 4 years in Notre Dame, and then, or I think 5 years at Notre Dame, and then his 6th year in college in the UNC at North Carolina here this year. And as he hopefully makes them help a deep run. And then Harrison Ingram at forward. RJ Davis can play shooting guard / small forward. He's not related to the coach. What's the coach's name? Oh, blanking on it. Something Davis, UNC. My point is they're not related. Maybe drop in the comments what the coach is in UNC, because I can't remember right now. But I am, excuse me, I am, players to watch for Alabama, Mohamed Diabate, who kind of hit or miss, and then Mark Sears, who puts his heart out there in the first 2 rounds. I'd say if Alabama plays, like, whoever they play in the second round, I can't remember. There's been so much basketball and a little break of a few days here. So I can't remember specifically, but Mark Sears showed up. Diabate was hit or miss, like I said. But if they play against UNC like that, which I don't think they will, they're going to lose. But I think UNC has a lot more experience, so I am going to go with UNC North Carolina here to move on. Next, we got, let's see, Next, we got 6-seeded Clemson versus 2-seeded Arizona. Players to watch for Clemson, Joe Girard, who spent 3 years at Syracuse, and it's his... No, wait. Who I think spent 2 or 3 years at Syracuse, and then it's his 2nd year at Clemson. He's a really good sharpshooter. And then Petrie Hall, big man, center. He was in a bit of foul trouble last game. He had like 4. 5. He even fouled out in the last 5 minutes or so, I think. Players to watch for Arizona, KJ Lewis and Caleb Love. He's a streaky shooter, but sometimes he takes like some wild shots. I don't think he's like very clutch per se. Arizona, I think, is on the level of UConn and Purdue, I would argue. This would be a massive upset in my opinion, because I don't think Clemson is as good as their seed and record shows. I don't think they're as good as like a 6 seed. Like there's a clear talent gap and cohesion gap in my opinion between 6-seeded Clemson and 2-seeded Arizona. Because of that, I am going to go Arizona. I'm a real big fan of Caleb Love. I really loved him the 3 years at UNC. Yeah, he's a streaky shooter. He takes bad shot selection sometimes, but I really like him. 1-seeded next. Let's go over to this side now. 1-seeded Houston versus 4-seeded Duke. This is, I think, actually this isn't the matchup of the weekend, but like the ones that we talked about so far is the matchup of the weekend in my opinion. Players to watch for Houston: L.J. Cryer, Damian Dunn, Emmanuel Sharp, and then Jamal Shed. I think all four of those players got fouled. I know Cryer and Shed definitely did. I don't know about the other two. But I believe, actually, all 4 of those players got fouled out last round. They can't do that again, but it went to overtime. So, yeah. But players to watch for Duke, I mean, you got your big man in the middle, center, and Kyle Filipowski. Then his running mate at power forward, Mark Mitchell, who's just there for defense and rebounding. And then you got your shooting duo in Jared McCain, who lit it up from 3 last round with 30 points, and Tyrese Proctor, who's a sharpshooter as well. And then you really got your glue guy, assist man, however you want to term it, Jeremy Roach, and then Jalen Blakes, who's the direct 6th man off the bench. That's a really awesome top 6. Because of that, I am going to go Duke. Both of these teams have really good experience. I really like John Shire, Shire for Duke. It's his second year taking over for Mike Krzyzewski. I know that's big shoes to fill, but now in year 2. And then Kelvin Sampson. I really like both these head coaches. I really love Kelvin Sampson, especially Houston head coach here. But I am gonna go with Duke because they're a more proven winning program. I feel like, actually, I know they are. They have 5 national championships, so they don't. I think Houston has more experience with like upperclassmen and stuff. But I'm gonna go Duke because of that firepower. And if Jared McCain shows up like he did last round, again, 30 points, 6 threes, I think, then, yeah, he'll show up. Now, 11 NC State versus 2 Marquette. This is going to be quick. Players to watch for NC State are DJ Burns and DJ Horn. Funny enough, the 2 DJs. And then players to watch for Marquette, Tyler Kolek. The problem is Marquette only has one real dominant player, one real great player even, in Tyler Kolek, but he's really never off. I am going to go Marquette, though, because I think they're worthy of the 2 seed. Of the matchups we talked about so far in the couple of matchups we're going to talk about to end up on the 3rd round, end up the Sweet 16, I think this is pretty straightforward. Like, unfortunately, I don't think NC State has the firepower like to beat with Marquette. So, yeah, I think they're clearly, not just looking at the seed, like after the lower seed, the teams in the Sweet 16, that 16 teams left, but just from a talent level and coaching experience level and just like player experience in general, I think they're the worst team left. So I don't really have to think about it that much, unfortunately. 1 seeded Purdue versus 5 seeded Gonzaga. Players to watch for Purdue, Zach Edey, and that's really it. Like, I do think Purdue is kind of top heavy in Zach Edey, and I really do believe that if Zach Edey's ever off for a game, then they're not going to win many matches. But that's the problem. Zach Edey is never off. He's like always on his game all the time, but they don't really have anyone outside of him. Players to watch for Gonzaga, Ryan Nembhard. Fun fact, is the younger brother of current Indiana Pacer Andrew Nembhard, who had a few great tournaments over the years at Gonzaga in March Madness. I think after Kansas literally blew out other way around. After Gonzaga literally blew out Kansas by 21 in the second round, Gonzaga blew out Kansas, in the second round by 21. I think that really propelled them into, I think I'm going to win here. Like, Zach Edey's going to be on his game, but I think they need more than Zach Edey. So down here, I'm going to pick Gonzaga to beat Purdue, and this would be a pretty big upset. But I think Gonzaga's kind of going under the radar even coming into this tournament. I kind of not doubted them, but I feel like even myself, me personally, I undervalued Gonzaga, and I think this would be a pretty big upset, but I do think Gonzaga is more talented and more well-built, and Mark Few is awesome as a coach there than just a 5 seed. Next, 3 seed Creighton versus 2 seed Tennessee. People might think Tennessee immediately, but like, no, these players for Creighton are balling out in the first 2 rounds. You got Stephen Ashworth, big man in the middle. That is a shooter. Ryan Kolkbrenner, big man in the middle. I think he's right up there with Zach Edey's best big man left in the tournament, arguably. And then Baylor Shireman, who can play point guard, shooting guard, or small forward. I mean, he's just clutch, does it all. Players to watch for Tennessee: Josiah Jordan-James and Dalton Nett. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I'm picking Creighton. Like, I think Creighton deserve better than a 3 seed. I think I didn't realize their potential in this tournament till I saw them play in the first couple rounds, especially that second round game, that 2-0 team against Ryan Couisnard and Dante, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Dante, though. Against Oregon in the second round, March Madness After Dark, if you will, 2-0 to like 1:30 a.m. here on the East Coast. I am going to pick Creighton, though. Now moving back over to the left side of the bracket here, we're going into the Elite Eight. We have one seeded UConn versus 3 seeded Illinois. Again, just to refresh every round. Players to watch for UConn are Stephon Castle and Donovan Clingan. Players to watch for Illinois are Marcus Damask and Terrence Shannon Jr. I think if you put like team to team, I think UConn arguably is the best coach in the nation, maybe Mark Few, but Dan Hurley's right up there. I don't think Illinois can match up against them. I just think UConn's on a mission right now to go back to back. I don't know if I'll pick them to once we get to the championship, but we'll see. Next, Elite Eight matchup here on the left side. We got, let's see here, North Carolina. What is their seed? 1-seeded North Carolina versus 2-seeded Arizona. I think this is going to be better than people think in my predictive matchup here. Again, players to watch for Arizona, KJ Lewis and Caleb Love, streaky shooter. Players to watch for North Carolina, Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, Harrison Ingram, Cormac Ryan. And I just realized that as I'm talking here, Caleb Love will be going up against his former team. Hubert Davis, that's the coach of UNC, the coach of North Carolina, head coach. Not related to RJ Davis, that's not his son, but Armando Bacot, Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram, and RJ Davis. I just think, yes, Caleb Love will be motivated to play his former team, but I'm going North Carolina. I know that was kind of boring for these two matchups. Going with the 1 seed, going with both 1 seeds in UConn, North Carolina. We'll see what the right side here holds in store. Next, we have 4-seeded Duke against 2-seeded Marquette. Unfortunately, I don't really have to think about this. I don't like Duke because they've had many rivalries with Kentucky over the years. Again, players to watch for 2-seeded Marquette are Tyler Kolek, and then players to watch for Duke. I mean, they got 6 as opposed to 1 that's really recognizable. Kyle Filipowski, Jared McCain, Mark Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor, Jeremy Roach, and then your 6th man off the bench, Jalen Blakes. Yeah, he's only a freshman, but he's a perfect 6-man. I got Duke. I think we're not picking all 1 seeds here. I didn't do that on purpose, but I got, or 2 seeds, I should say. So a 4 seed being a 2 seed, Duke beats Marquette here, in my opinion. Lastly, last matchup to move on to the Final Four here, we have 5-seeded Gonzaga and 3-seeded Creighton. I think I wouldn't call Creighton a Cinderella team. It's like a 3 seed. How can it be a Cinderella team? But in my eyes, they've overachieved for sure. I feel like just Ryan Nembhard is soaked up so much from his brother. And yes, Creighton is Baylor Scheierman, Ryan Kolkbrenner, who I think is right up there with Zach Edey, is arguably the best big man left in the tournament at this point, heading in the Sweet 16 tonight, I should say. And then Stephen Ashworth, but Baylor Scheierman's your glue guy. I think this is like a 2OT type game, but I think this is where Creighton's run ends. Unfortunately, I got Gonzaga. Again, I think they've overachieved for a 5 seed, at least in my perspective. I think they're much more talented, way more well-coached than just a 5 seed. So I think they're better than that 5 seed, their seed. Next, my final 4 teams. Wait, hold on. Did I mess this up? So, Sweet 16, Elite 8. Okay, wait. So, let's just go over this again to refresh here. So, I have UConn beating Sweet 16. UConn beating San Diego State. Illinois beating Iowa State. Yeah. North Carolina beating Alabama. Let's see. Arizona beating Clemson. Duke beating Houston. Marquette beating NC State. Gonzaga beating Purdue. Creighton beating Tennessee. It's kind of an upset. And then, okay, here's the Elite 8. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I was kind of confused because they have it set up weird. So here is the Final Four. So that's the 2 Final Four. Okay. My Final Four matchups are UConn versus North Carolina, 2 1 seeds against each other, and Duke versus Gonzaga. This is real tough. I have UConn though. I think North Carolina is gonna put up the best fight they can. But I got UConn. I love Danny Hurley. And then we got Duke versus Gonzaga. I got Duke here. And then, this is really tough. 1 seed UConn versus 4 seed Duke. I think UConn's going back to back. I really do, guys. So there it is. I know it was kind of confusing at the end there because they got it set up kind of weird. But yeah, I have UConn in my updated predictions. UConn being Duke in the national championship. So UConn going back to back. Danny Hurley going back to back. Stefan Castle and Donovan Clingan, especially leading them back-to-back. So, yeah, anyways, this has been another video on the Around the Slice YouTube channel, and, yeah, I'll be back for next weekend. Hard to believe we're already at the Final Four almost, but next weekend I'll do Final Four matchups for both matchups, whoever it may be, whether it's my predictions, whether it's not, I'll be here for you. So, I will see you next time. Thank you for tuning into this video. Bye.